Alan, you're doing well. Why do you keep driving this car?
You don't want to make having a lot of money your personality. It's a bit ugly.
Kids nowadays, it's very hard for them to grow up.
3 minutes.
She kind of like admires her brother. Good morning. So this is my breakfast: oats, peanut butter, frozen berries, and almond milk. And then I have a black coffee here. As you probably would have seen, last night was my sister's birthday, or technically it's today. But we stayed up until midnight, just sitting around the campfire outside to say happy birthday to her. So slept pretty late, so I am kind of behind this morning. But you know, it is what it is. There are moments in life that are worth compromising for. So yeah, she's turning 16. Crazy how fast time flies. And me and my sister, we have a 10-year age gap. So I guess like sometimes it is a little bit hard to like connect. Obviously there's not many similarities, you know, for us to talk about, but we do have a good relationship. One of the reasons to why I do what I do is because of her, actually. Like growing up, I didn't really have like a role model. I didn't really have anyone to look up to. I remember when I was younger, my parents were working a lot, and because of that, when I went to school and I came home, like, you know, like immigrant parents, they don't really, like, they're busy working, you know, and I appreciate them for that, so it's not a problem at all. But because of that, I guess I started hanging around not the best people, and I got into a lot of trouble when I was younger. I was involved in like gangs and, you know, did drugs and stuff. Like, yeah, I've definitely had a past, and it all started pretty young. But the reason why I was able to get out of that cycle is just fundamentally because I was raised by good parents. Like both my mum and dad are very good people. You know, they're smart, they're intelligent, they have good morals, good ethics. So even though I was, I guess, spoiled on the outside, on the inside, I am a good person. And I guess for my sister, I try my best to, you know, just be someone that she can admire and be someone who she can respect, you know. And I think for her, especially as a girl, you know, it's important for her to have, you know, good male role models so that she can have someone to look up to and I guess almost see what the standard really is. Because with where the world is going, like kids nowadays, it's very hard for them to grow up, and there's a lot of, I guess there's a lot of societal issues with the environment that kids are growing up in. So I try my best to resemble someone who, you know, works hard, someone who's financially successful, looks after his family with that financial success, someone who carries himself well, you know, articulates well, presents well. And I hope she can draw some type of inspiration or some type of motivation from watching the way that I live my life. And I try my best not to like lecture her too much or like sit her down, and, you know, I try my best not to do that too much because I know at that age, like, they don't really want to hear it. But I try my best to just resemble it in the way that I act every day or in the way that I live my life. And because I'm still at home, like, she can still, you know, see that. And I do believe that she respects me because of that. And there's been a lot of moments where I've caught her, you know, like telling her friends about me, or I've caught her, you know, saying, you know, things about me. Like she kind of like admires her brother. So that's something that means a lot to me, and I try to continuously resemble that. And I also want to give her opportunities earlier on in life that I never really got, you know. And that's not to say that I definitely don't want to like just give her things on a silver platter, but I definitely do want to show her that anything in life is possible. And that's something that I never really got as well, you know. Like when I was younger, it was very much about like being safe, like saving money, you know. We weren't the wealthiest family growing up. So just kind of giving her a perspective that anything is possible, and kind of also showing her a level of unconditional love as well. I think that's really, really important. So she's, I don't know, she's going out with her friends today or something, and then at night we're gonna have dinner together, and then that's pretty much it. In the interim, I am going to eat this meal. I'm gonna do probably 2 hours of work, and then I'm gonna eat another meal, and then I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm kind of dreading another 2-hour gym session, but it is what it is. And then that's pretty much it.
So we're currently on our way to the gym, and I had to stop by the shopping center and buy a couple of things. So some protein, pre-workout. I went to look at the new Apple Watch. One thing that I was actually reflecting on whilst I was going shopping and buying a couple of things was the fact that, you know, when you run a business and, you know, you're successful to some degree and you have a degree of financial success, the best thing about having money is not what people think. Like, it's not the big purchases. Like, it's not about the flashy cars or the watches or the houses or living in a mansion. It's actually not that. And I guess like that could be rewarding for a lot of people, but I guess it's just not that for me personally. You know, like for me personally, it's just like the little things that it allows you to do on a day-to-day basis. Like, as an example, like a couple of years back, you know, if I was running low on protein or something like that, I would go into the shopping center and, you know, you look at the protein and the protein's like $150 for a tub. And you're kind of just like, you have that moment of delay where you're kind of like looking at it and, you know, you're like trying to justify the cost. Like, you know, is this worth it? It's like, you know, it's $100. Like to me, anything over $100 is a lot of money, right? So you're kind of like looking at it and you're kind of justifying the cost and you're kind of thinking about like, okay, well, you know, if I bought this, then how many hours does this equate to in terms of like working, right? Even like semi big purchases, like for example, buying an Apple Watch or buying a new phone or buying a new laptop, like those are like pretty big purchases, you know, and it would take a lot in order to kind of like buy something like that mentally, you know, because you know, a couple $1,000s is a lot of money. But when you kind of get to a certain degree of financial success, not saying like I'm the richest person in the world by any means, but you know, I'm in a decent position where whenever I need these things, I just buy it and I don't think too much about it. And a big part of that actually is like my relationship with money. It's hard because if you're someone who has a bad relationship with money and you make a lot of money, that's like a recipe for disaster, you know? So I think it's really important when you build a business and you achieve a certain degree of financial success, there's a lot of things that people don't factor in, or there's a lot of things that people, I guess, don't think about. One of them being your relationship with money. Because if you are someone who grew up and you don't have the best relationship with money, you have a belief where, let's say, people who have a lot of money are bad or evil, or you have the belief that money doesn't grow on trees, or, you know, furthermore, let's say you have a belief where you don't deserve money, or you're not deserving of money, or you're not deserving of success, then naturally what you're going to do is, even if you make a lot of money, you're going to subconsciously find ways to sabotage yourself, you know? So for example, a lot of people, they might make money, but then they don't pay attention to their taxes because they're just kind of adverse to those kind of things. And then they get hit with a big tax bill. But yeah, I think in the first couple of years, as you're starting to make money, it's really important to ground yourself, learn, be more financially literate, and build a better relationship with money. And a big part of that is like having mentors, you know, having people to ground you and having people to guide you along the way and kind of like get you back in line when you're drifting a little bit, because it's hard, you know. As soon as you taste a little bit of success, like your ego can get the better of you. And definitely earlier on in my journey, it did get the better of me. Like I just wasn't that emotionally grounded, you know, like you just think that you're the shit because you make a little bit more money than most people. And then you get to a stage where you realize that money, it really doesn't make you happy, and it doesn't mean that you're better than anyone by any means. But everyone has to go through that journey. You don't want to make having a lot of money your personality, you know, and you don't want to make success your personality as well. It's like, it's a bit ugly. So yeah, that was my reflection anyway. Obviously, I'm very grateful to be in the position that I'm in, but I think money does not make you happy, but it definitely does make your life a lot easier. It definitely does improve your quality of life, and it's a goal that I would encourage, you know, all people to aim towards. You know, having more money is great, but when you get to a certain level, you'll realize that, yeah, having a lot of money, it doesn't really mean anything at all. So yeah, we're gonna go do our gym session day 2 on the program. The thing that kills me about these sessions is like these upper body sessions that I have on the weekend, it starts with lower body. So I have like 3 leg exercises before I get to the upper body, and it just drains the shit out of me. So anyway, day 2, let's get it. So one of the biggest mistakes that I typically see inside the gym is training intensity. If you're someone who's coming into the gym regularly and you're doing some type of strength training, presumably you want to build strength or you want to build muscle. Well, in order to build muscle, a lot of people have this misconception where you can just get into the gym, touch a dumbbell, and then you build muscle, right? Like, it doesn't work that way. Like, I mean, I hope it did, but unfortunately it doesn't. You actually need to go inside the gym and train hard and give your muscles a reason to grow. And the way that you do that is via training to or close to failure, which means that on the last couple of repetitions, your reps have to slow down. You know, it has to be a grind. So I'm gonna do a live demonstration of what a set typically looks like when you're taking it close to failure. Now, you don't wanna take every single exercise to failure because you have to be safe. Like, for example, if you're doing a barbell squat, you wouldn't train to failure, right? Because, you know, you're gonna hurt yourself. But if you're doing like machines, like something like this, it's pretty safe to take it to failure or completely to failure. So I'm going to do a live performance. Most people would stop there. So that's kind of like what it looks like. Most people would have probably stopped that like 2, 3, 4 reps earlier. Like, I don't blame them, because when you first start training, you learn. Like, it's a learning experience because you're literally fighting against your body's natural need to protect you. Because what happens is, like, when you're training hard, it hurts, right? And your body's designed to protect you. So mentally, it keeps telling you to stop. But, you know, in order to build muscle, you have to work your way through that. So yeah, that's kind of like what it looks like. And the more you train and the more you get used to it, your pain threshold or your pain tolerance will go up, and it will be like normal. You know, like, for example, for me, obviously I've been training like 10 years, so I'm used to it. But at the start, it was hard. It was really hard. But now you almost get used to it. And I guess you don't get so stressed out when you do train to failure. So we are currently cleaning the car a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, one of my probably worst characteristics is that I'm quite messy. And I guess I've told myself that it wasn't that big of a deal. I've told myself that it's because I have ADHD. What I've come to learn, honestly, just recently, is that it's not cute. You know, it's not like a trait that I should hold like a badge of honor, let's say. I am a leader, right? At the end of the day, I'm a business owner. I manage a team. Like, I should stop being a fucking kid and stop being so messy. So I'm going to try my best to keep my workspace a little bit cleaner so that my mental headspace can be a little bit cleaner as well. Another thing that I thought I'd reflect on is, you guys can probably see the car that I drive. It is a 2008 Toyota Camry. It's funny because when I turned 18, I pestered the shit out of my parents to buy me a nice car. So I drove a Honda DC5 Type S. It was a very nice car. And then after that car, I moved over to driving a Volkswagen Golf R. So 2 sports cars. And at the time, you know, at that age bracket, when I was like 18 to 21, like, those were probably the best cars that you could drive. Well, those were the cars that everyone wanted to drive, you know, and I was very fortunate that my parents helped me out with buying those cars. And then afterwards, you kind of learn that cars are a waste of money. And the reality is, the point of a car is just to get you to A to B. So I sold my Golf R and I bought this car for, I think it was like $6,000. And I've been driving this car ever since. I always get so much shit for this car because, you know, the people who are close to me or the people that maybe know me or whatever, they're kind of like, Alan, you know, you're doing well. Like, why do you keep driving this car? And I'm not going to lie, at the start, it did kind of get to my head a little bit. Like, yeah, maybe I should drive a nice car. But low key, I was kind of embarrassed to drive this car because, yeah, you know, like, obviously everyone cares to some degree what people think about them. But after a while, I realized, I don't know, I started not caring as much. Don't get me wrong, like, I do want to eventually buy a nice car, and I will eventually buy a nice car. But right now, it's just not my priority. I would rather utilize that money that I would use to buy a nice car
for something else, you know, whether it be real estate or whether it be another business opportunity or reinvesting back into the business or, you know, hiring someone within my business or, you know, whether it be giving back to my parents. I bought my dad a car and that was a lot more meaningful than me buying myself a car. Because I experienced this with my previous 2 cars. Like when you buy a nice car, the dopamine lasts like, I don't know, a couple of days. And then afterwards, it becomes kind of boring. And then it just becomes a headache. You know, you're scared of scratching the car. You're scared of this, you're scared of that. So at some point, you just realize that it's not worth it. Just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean that you just spend it on random shit. You spend money on what means the most to you. Don't spend money based on what society tells you you should spend money on if you have a lot of money, right? I learned that from one of he wasn't really a mentor, but his name is Ramit Sethi, by the way. I think a lot of people might know him. He produced like a documentary on Netflix, but he kind of talks about the concept of designing your rich life, right? Everyone's rich life is very different. Sometimes your rich life could be having a nice car. Some people, it might be having a nice house. Some people, it might be traveling 5 times a year. Some people, it might be flying business class. Some people, it might be being able to eat out every single day. I don't know, like every single person has something that means something that is special to them and it's not universal, right? So like, for example, for Ramit, one of his like things that he spends money on is convenience. So he will pay anything for convenience. Like as an example, he'll go to the airport and he'll pay someone to bring his luggage to the airport, check his luggage in so that he doesn't have to do it. You know, some people might hear that and they're like, that's stupid. But at the end of the day, you know, that's what means the most to him. Another thing that he really likes is hotels. So whenever he travels, he doesn't necessarily spend a lot of money on like the nicest experiences, or the thing that he really does spend a lot of money on is hotels. This is actually my company trust deed and it's just a copy of it. So I need to rip it up. I wouldn't want anyone to have access to my company information, but oh my God. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to finish cleaning my car and then, yeah, we're going to go home and then probably start to prepare for dinner.